Here. Welcome to the WDW Fan Zone Show. I'm Stuart, along with Kurt, Jess, and Darlene. And tonight, we're going to discuss how long it should really take you to prepare for your next Walt Disney World vacation. But before we get into that, Jess, as always, I'm expecting a lot from you because you always do a great job with the news. So here we go. Take it away.
Thank you. All right, I got a lot of stuff today. So, Moonlight Magic, an after hours event for DVC members, is returning for 2025. Animal Kingdom is February 12th, along with a few more 2024 dates that have just been announced. For later this year, October 24th, November 21st, and December 10th. Hollywood Studios is January 26th and September 1st of next year. Epcot is April 30th and July 17th. And Typhoon Lagoon is May 20th, June 9th, and August 11th. If you are staying on Disney Resort property, you will have access to early registration. Check out the Disney Vacation Club Moonlight Magic website for more details, including registration dates. Tron Light Cycle Run does not operate by virtual queue anymore. Today was the first day that you can ride Tron with a standby line. Lightning Lane Single Pass is still available for Tron as well. Please note that if you are staying at a Disney hotel and qualify for early theme park entry, Tron does not open until 9 a.m., so it is not included in the early entry. The fireworks dessert party reservations are now available for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. This includes fireworks viewing from either a special spot in the Plaza Garden and dessert at Tomorrowland Terrace, or the Tomorrowland Terrace fireworks viewing and dessert there as well. Plaza Garden viewing is $92.95 plus tax, and the Tomorrowland Terrace viewing is $111.73 plus tax. Disney is offering a water park season pass for $79, and you can go as often as you want until May 25th, 2025. There are blockout dates from April 12th to April 20th. And remember, Blizzard Beach opens on November 4th as Typhoon Lagoon closes on November 3rd. A new villains show will be opening in Hollywood Studios next summer. The Mysterious Reflective Realm of the Magic Mirror. I don't think that's what it's called, but I think that's kind of what they're advertising it as. It will be replacing the car show Lightning McQueen Racing Academy right beyond Rock and Roller Coaster, and that will close on October 7th. And some sad news today. James Earl Jones has passed away at age 93, and you would probably know him as the voice of Mufasa and Darth Vader, and very many other voices and characters out there. And it's just very sad to hear that news today. Don't forget to check park hours before planning your trip, and check again once you arrive to see if they've changed. Also, including that with the Halloween party that's going on right now, the park hours will be different. And as the Magic Kingdom will close at 6 o'clock and the Halloween party starts at 7, just keep that in mind when you go to the Magic Kingdom. The Walt Disney World area is expecting some spotty showers and storms this week, but don't worry, it shouldn't last all day. Bring your ponchos and enjoy the lower crowds. I know that that was a show the last couple weeks, so definitely still go if it's raining. Just expect if there's a thunderstorm, a couple rides will be closed. Just go inside. It'll be fine. Eat, drink, be merry. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you so much. Great as always, Jess.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much. It's
Have a
great
great
to see
rest of
you
the
all.
week.
See you real soon.
Adios. All right. Now, before we get into the show, she mentioned about James Earl Jones, and I want to just extend our deepest condolences to James Earl Jones' family, friends, and everyone else whose life he may have touched along the many years he lived. And before we get into the show, also, Darlene, you had a lobotomy on Friday. How are you feeling?
It was actually Thursday, and
Oh, sorry.
we'll see how long I can sit here. It's been a lot different than what I anticipated. Having a gallbladder
The
out is never
lobotomy?
fun.
All right. So anyway, I don't even know why I thought of this, but living in Florida, I remember when I used to plan vacations with my family, and I'm sure you guys did, maybe even Kurt, you before you were a DVC member, or even
Mhm.
with DVC. And there were always things to do. And yes, having a travel planner, a Disney travel planner at that, like MEI Mouse Fan Travel, um, are a great asset to have in your corner, but there's still a lot of work you have to do on your own. And
Mhm.
I don't think some people realize, even if they've been to Disney World a couple of times, or maybe even a few times, realize how much of their time and energy it takes to put together a plan. The first thing you've got to think of is, okay, and this is probably the easy part, when you want to go. Then it's, where do you want to stay? What's your budget? How many days do you want to spend in the parks? Do you want to stay in the parks? Do you want to travel and go elsewhere? Do you want the dining plan? Do you not want the dining plan? Do you want to make dining reservations? Do you want to get Lightning Lane or multi Lightning Lane? There's a lot that goes into it, and then you've got to know the days out before you make dining reservations, if you choose to do that, and how many days before you can make a Lightning Lane reservation, and how many. A travel planner, a Disney travel planner, can assist you a great deal in that, but the ultimate decisions come down to you, the traveler. So, you know, Kurt,
Mhm.
what's the number one thing you've got to deal with each time you plan a vacation besides picking your DVC resort?
Usually it's revolving around food.
Yeah, there you
We're,
go.
we don't, well, it depends on what time of year we're going and what kind of festivals are on, if there's any festivals on.
Mhm.
And then it's a matter of, okay, we've been there so many times, let's try something new. What do we want to try? So if it's not the resort, which we've got a couple of resorts in line right now that we're thinking about going to on our next trip, it's, all right, what are we eating?
Yeah.
So usually we're setting a pattern on which days of the week we're going to each park. So that hasn't changed in years.
Mhm.
But as far as food, my sister's very upset and wants to boycott Germany right now because they took away the snickerdoodle cookie and they replaced it with the. She was just there last week, and she goes, I'm upset." So she tried the gingerbread cookie that they have instead. She goes, "It's just not the same." So to each their own.
Yeah.
But I mean, luckily, I think she knew that before she actually went there. Because I got a phone call late at night, all upset that they took my cookie away.
I'm sure it'll come back eventually.
Oh yeah, it's gone for the season. But it's little things like that. If you don't do your research, you're all set. You're going to get there and be like,
Right.
"Oh, my my trip is ruined. There's no cookie." Oh, move on. Get another cookie. Go buy some caramel corn instead.
Now, when planning a Disney vacation, when we were living up north, it was always a bit of a conundrum. Do we make reservations for the resort first, or do we see how much the airline fares are, and do we book our flights first? But we always would wind up choosing the resort first and then finding flights to go with it, even if it meant, you know, spending
Well,
a little more or a little, you never know.
you've got to book your resort further out
Hmm.
than your flight.
Absolutely.
Because
I
there's a
agree with
time
that.
window where you get closer to where your flight goes way down for like a day.
Yeah.
So you got to catch it at the right time. However, the resort, um, I'm looking at a January trip. If I don't book this now, by the end of the month, I have a feeling these rooms are going to be
It'll be
gone.
gone. Yeah.
I can't wait on that.
Mhm.
So
Have either of you ever had the unfortunate mispleasure of trying to book a resort and it wasn't available and you had to pick another resort? Like you
Yes.
were dead set on coming here and you had to pick a different. Darling, what happened with you?
We wanted to stay at Port Orleans and we had to stay at Caribbean Beach. So, I mean, it was moderate to moderate, but, we
Not your
just,
choice. Yeah. Or
right.
first choice, I should say. And
Yeah,
that
it
does
was,
happen. And I think that's why you do need to book your flight first. I'm sorry, your resort
your room
first. I
first.
take that back. Your resort first.
see, a big thing with us when we were planning our trips back before we had DVC and um, just in general was the job that my husband had. He had certain allotments of vacation that he could take. And then I had to
Mhm.
plan my vacation if it was able to be
Oh,
done
around his time.
around his time because
Mhm.
I worked for an investment firm. So I basically had to try to get those same dates that he had to go. And then, work around school too for my daughter.
Right. There's certain days as a school teacher, I work in a school. So there's certain times where I know it's bad for me to leave. They're pretty open to me going anytime because we're teaching summer school too.
Yeah.
However, my wife, there's blocks where she cannot. The month of
Yeah.
May, we can't go anywhere
I
because
remember
it's
when,
just swamped.
yeah, and I remember when my kids were in grade school, and my wife and I were both working full time, and it was most of the time it was easier for me to get vacation time than it was for my wife because I guess I was just in a lucky position where wherever I worked, they were pretty lenient on your vacation time. But with her, it wasn't as lenient. It was lenient, but not as lenient because she was in small offices. But here's the problem. When you have grade school children, there are only certain times of the year you can go, and getting vacation together sometimes was not as easy. Or when they were really little, when they needed somebody home to watch them, not a babysitter, it was just us. It was just like, okay, who's taking this week and who's taking the next week?
Right.
And then are we taking another week and going to Disney? And we would do that, but it gets difficult at times, but it can be done, and it's something that you can work out. And for some, it's
Uh,
going to be easier than others. Like with you, Kurt, it's probably more difficult because you've got to go when your wife can go, and
Right. Right. There's certain times I don't want to miss
Mhm.
with where I work at, but there's other times where I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm going to take a week or like in January, January, February, somewhere in there, we're looking at going down. Here, interesting fact right now, I'm looking at Disney prices for moderate resorts.
Mhm.
Coronado Springs is averaging $244 a night. The next one, Caribbean Beach Resort at $283. That usually is higher because of the Skyway. Port Orleans Riverside is $296. French Quarter is $301.
Wow.
So that's the
Yeah.
most expensive moderate resort right now.
I remember
Go
when
figure.
French Quarter was $89.
Yeah, no kidding. On sale, yeah. So All Stars are actually doing pretty good right now. I can remember when All Stars were $89 a night.
Mhm.
They're coming in around $141 for that January, February time frame.
Yeah.
That's a decent price.
Yeah. I think realistically, if you're booking, unless it's a last minute trip, and we did a show on that as well. If you're booking a true vacation, I think realistically, 1 year out is good, but you can do it up to 6 months before. I wouldn't recommend it.
That's
I
too
would,
soon.
yeah. I think you need to be at least a year out, or about a year out, not at least, about a year out.
Now I say 6 months is too soon as I'm looking at stuff that's going on in January, February. That's less than 6 months away. But it's a quick getaway. I don't have to buy any tickets because we do
Right.
have annual passes this year. So part of you want to go a year away because you want to start setting aside money for that.
Mhm.
It's not cheap anymore.
No, it's not.
One of the trips I booked for my daughter was 6 weeks out.
Yeah, that makes it
It,
A
difficult.
bit
it
close.
was very hard, but luckily they weren't picky. They stayed at an all-star resort.
And then, dining reservations, if they chose to make any,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you lose out on quite a few restaurants that you might want as your number one choice if you do it
Yep.
that close. If you start to plan a year out, you have time to figure out where you want to stay and actually get your first choice of where you want to stay, whether it's on property or off property. Your mode of transportation to get to Disney World and back is also important. If you're driving, maybe not so much, but if you're flying, you've got to worry about finding the right airline for you, and one that hopefully fits your budget and won't break the bank before you even get to Walt Disney World.
Right.
Um, I think, especially if you're going with young children, if you plan a vacation last minute, you're gonna, maybe reserving dining is not as important to you, but getting as much done in the parks as you can is, and knowing what rides are appropriate for your children at a young age or even teenagers. You want to know what your role, you want to have a plan. You want to have a plan A, B, C, and D when you tour the parks as well. And that you need to do before you even step foot on a plane. And you have to expect that whatever plans you have, you're going to have to change them on the fly. I know Disney is pretty good at making you plan things so you know what you're going to do and when before you arrive. Wasn't as much as that going on when my kids were little. It was more, okay, we've made our dining reservations. We have our Fast Pass, which it was Fast Pass back then. I'm sorry, not Fast Pass. But we knew where we were going, when we were going, and what we wanted to do. And if this thing didn't work out, we had, okay, if this is broken down or it wasn't broken, nothing was broken down back then, I should say. If this is crowded, we'll go here. If it's not crowded, we always had something as an alternative. And one of the things we used, and I don't even know if it's still around, I'm sure it is, was Len Testa's Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. Was extremely helpful, as was alleears.net.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The guides.
yeah.
The Walt Disney World guides too.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when
the
we used to
Unofficial
get
Guide to Walt
DVDs.
Disney World.
Yeah, there was also there was another one. I forgot who did it. It wasn't as good. It wasn't as
Birnbaum.
detailed. Yeah, Birnbaum's. That's
It was
right.
that's the official version.
Mm-hmm.
The unofficial guide was nice because it actually had ratings for all the attractions. It would rate them as on the scary meter, on the basically how good is this attraction. I think there might have been if you're looking to sleep meter type of thing with some of them.
Yeah.
You and your little Miss Ellen's Energy Adventure, and
for those who want to make a last minute trip there, by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you're planning a vacation out, like, you've worked hard all year, you want to save your money for a trip next year to Walt Disney World. Don't wait until January, February. And a lot of people do. They wait for the first quarter of the new year to plan their trip for that year. Do it the year before. Start saving a year before. Start researching things. Like, once you pick your resort, you want to research each park. Even if you've been there, things change so much.
well, people are waiting for their income tax return a lot of times.
Yeah, that's very true.
But just put a deposit down. You don't have to pay for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Put your deposit down. You can wait a little bit on the tickets. The ticket prices, they usually don't go up. They're going to go up, but they usually don't go up that early.
Right.
So
I think Disney's already announced increases for next year between $5 and $10, but I don't know when they're going to take place. It's usually in February. But that's something else you need to budget for too, knowing they are going to go up. They're not going to come down. Now, they might have a special going on. You want to check before you book your resort. Like I said, I would highly recommend using a Disney travel planner. See if there's any discounts. There might be a resort that you want to go to, but your travel planner might make a recommendation to you that is completely different. Or your research might find something that you hadn't thought about that you might go, you know what, this might be better for us, whether it's a solo trip, a couple, or a family.
again, the website's gotten much better. You just pop in when you're planning on checking in, what are you checking out, and you can actually sort it by location, name, price, low to high. They start with their recommendations. Of course, they got you staying at a $600 resort, but you're getting all this money off. Yeah, I'll tell you what, the All-Star resorts, when they first opened, they weren't my favorite resorts. I was, even up to maybe 5 years ago, I was kind of down on them. You had a pair of full-size beds, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that they've switched them where it's a queen-size bed and that trundle that comes down, it's not a trundle, the Murphy bed that comes down over the top of the table, night and day difference with how nice those rooms are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they still as nice as going to a deluxe resort? Come on, we're comparing apples to oranges now. But
yeah.
$141 for a Disney All-Star review room versus a Hilton or something like that you might get for the same price. Honestly, I'd take the Disney one because you're saving $25 or whatever it is on parking
a day,
among other things. Yeah, so you're saving money on that. You're closer. You do have Disney park transportation right there if you need that. It's like I said, I'm quite surprised at the price of these rooms right now.
Yeah.
Again, the times I'm looking at are kind of an off time. I'm not looking at during a marathon. I don't think it's a marathon time. I don't know when the marathons are.
No, most of the marathons are either at the beginning of January or the end of February. And then
I'm in the middle of that. So
yeah, you're in the middle.
You know, I would say 20 to 25 years ago, if you started planning a vacation 18 months out, you were good. You didn't have to plan it that far out, but you were good. Now, I think because of technology, you can start at a year. But I wouldn't go past 10 months before.
Yeah.
I think you're cutting it too close. I think if you could do 13 or 14 months to start planning, that's probably ideal.
Also, keep an eye open. There are some, I can't find the resort. Some of the resorts, there's always construction going on somewhere. We know that.
Oh, gotcha.
And there will be posts that tell you, hey, this is being worked on. So, where is it? Pop Century, I think it's their cafeteria area is currently being worked on. If I remember correctly, maybe it's done now because I don't see it anywhere. But right there on the page, it'll tell you exactly what you need to know. Hey, this is out. This is being worked on. There it is. From July 29th to September 29th, the Everything Pop food court is undergoing refurbishment. It remains open for your convenience. It's just that you have to do mobile ordering. So if you're not comfortable with doing mobile, maybe you're a little bit older, you don't have a smartphone. I have a friend, his smartphone happens to be a pad of paper. So when we ask him what happened 6 months ago, he flips back.
Speaking of smartphones,
yeah.
John, who's not here tonight, he's out having a wonderful time on the left coast, has created an app for WDW Fan Zone. If you're an Apple user, I highly recommend that you sign up for it. It's free if you haven't done so already. A lot of great tips on there. He's building it more and more each day. It's been around for a couple of years, but he's really getting more involved with building it up. Also, we're on YouTube. You can find us there. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place. And we really would appreciate if you give us a thumbs up, because then more people find out about us. Good, bad, or otherwise. At least they know about us. I don't care if they're talking dirt about us, as long as they're talking about us. No, we try to remain positive with things. Not always, but we try.
So, anyways, their website will tell you right away what it is that you want to do. And sometimes just knowing that information going in will make you, no matter what, you always have high hopes. And because of Disney, you might think higher standards. But if you know going in, oh yeah, by the way, it's still under refurbishment, your standards are at least like, okay, well, I know it's not going to be perfect, but there's specific rooms I've booked before for one reason or another, and then you get there and it's not quite what you exactly thought it was going to be. You might be disappointed.
You
But,
know,
you know,
with the
it's
news,
still
just sorry, go
better
ahead.
than
Ken.
nothing. It's still better than, it's better than, I can get a room where it's like looking off to the side instead of a parking lot.
Yeah.
I'd rather look at that than a parking lot.
Yeah, that's true. Or a construction site. And I just want to mention, Jess is very good with the news of mentioning refurbishments, but there are some that don't really affect many of the park goers or people staying on property. So she doesn't mention every single thing that's going on. So if there are things that you want to find out about, feel free to drop us a line. You can leave us a comment on YouTube or on Facebook, and someone will get back to you or will respond right on the air, right on the show for you.
Live. Yeah, no, we're not looking at it
We're
live.
live. We're still alive.
We're recording live. You're not seeing us live.
Correct.
So
yes. And this year for Halloween, we're all gonna do the show as zombies. No, we do the show as zombies every week.
there you go.
One of the things too with planning a vacation, if you're planning it on your own, and you're not using a Disney travel agent, be sure to check for rate changes, because sometimes they do drop other offers when you're booking so far out.
Yeah, you know what? I've given this example many times. I was using a travel planner. It wasn't an official Disney travel planner, but they bill themselves as experts in Disney. Those bastards. Oops, I should have said that. No, none of the show won't get published. And it was a big, big agency, and it wasn't the one we recommend now, or any of the more recent ones that you might see for Walt Disney World. But they were involved in, if your car broke down and you needed somebody to come and charge your battery or change a tire, they would help you out. Well, they had a travel agency at the time. I think they still do. Well, I saw a discount for Disney World for the resorts that I knew we would qualify for, called up the agent, and the agent said to me, "I'm sorry, I can't do that. It's not available to us." She gave me some flimsy excuse. She just wouldn't do it.
She's
Bottom
too
line was
lazy
she
to do
wouldn't
the
it.
change. Did you
She
try
wouldn't
calling
do it.
Disney Direct?
No, I didn't, because I already had everything paid for with the travel agent.
So you would have never gotten your discount.
Yeah.
So because Disney, I've had friends who first couple times they go with a travel agent and then they're like, I'm just going to book it on my own, because sometimes they can get a better deal.
As a matter of fact, I remember they actually said in the ad, Disney, that the discount was available to members of this certain organization.
Gotcha. So I had a friend though that she
do.
booked her own, and I go, hey, discount, and they're like, oh, I already booked it. I go, call, and they ended up getting like a couple $500 gift cards during their stay.
I can tell you with Mouse Fan Travel, and there are other travel planners that will do the same, but we know Mouse Fan Travel very well. If there's a new discount, they automatically apply it to you. You don't have to call them and ask them. They will automatically do it.
Correct.
Like a rate drop, anything. Or if they need your input, they'll call you and ask you, or they'll text you or email you and say, hey, this just came out. It'll save you money if you switch, or this might be better for you. Do you want to take advantage of this? But for the most part, they just apply the discount.
Last time we did something talking about trips, spontaneous trips, I think it was. I looked at the All-Star Music Resort, or All-Star Resorts, all three of them. There were three different prices, with the cheapest one being around $165. I think that was 3 weeks ago that we did that. So now it's down to $141. Wow. And now everyone's going to book it before I get a chance to. But it's down to $141 now. So yeah, go back and double check, because if it goes down, you can go in and you can even do it online if you book it online and drop the one and book the next one. Or you can call. and they'll take care of that for you. They're very good about that. The people that work for Disney, they're not the ones making a ton of money. We all know that. So they want to help you as much as they want you to. You get a good person that's working there. They know about you wanting to save money. They want to save money. Stuart, we can't hear you.
I muted myself. Always go to a travel planner. We've mentioned this several times. That does not take a fee. If they take a fee, you're at the wrong travel planner or agent.
Very true.
Also, watch out. Tickets. My recommendation would be, if you're using a travel planner, let them get the tickets for you or buy them through Disney. Yes, there are other discount brokers out there. Make sure they're reputable. But when I say make sure they're reputable, if you don't know somebody who's used them and actually had success using them, don't even consider them.
Here's where you get in trouble with that sometimes. We bought a park hopper ticket. COVID hit.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, you weren't allowed to park hop. We lost that park hopping option because we bought it through a third party. I don't even think we checked, but I consulted with somebody and they said, you have to do it with that third party, and that third party is probably not going to honor it because we already have it. As soon as we got it, we put it on the app right away so no one could steal it from us.
You know what? Getting on a little bit of a tangent with the same as that. For those, we know a lot of people are Disney cruises or like to cruise other cruise lines that also like to go to the parks that are Disney fans. That's something else if you don't know already. If you don't book your cruise excursions through the ship, and they're usually a little bit more money through the ship, and something like that happens, like Kurt mentioned, or just they're not obligated in a lot of cases, or they won't pay you back your money. Even if they are obligated, they just won't do it. It's like, yeah, come after them.
I am definitely a person who would book through the cruise line, whatever cruise line I go on.
Me too. I'd rather pay more money and book through the cruise line and know, it's a legit company, supposedly.
Yep.
And they also guarantee they'll get you back on the ship. May not be the same port, but they'll get you back. And you hope nothing goes wrong. But anyway,
exactly.
Back to Disney. It's the same thing with park tickets. You purchase a park ticket. I can only imagine, I've heard this from cast members, that there are people that'll show up and go, well, I've got these tickets here. And it's like, yeah, but they're not legitimate. They're no good. I don't know where you got them from. A lot of them come from those timeshare places. Yeah, we'll give you a free day at Disney. Just come and see us.
Mm-hmm.
Or they sell to them very cheap. And it's like, if somebody's selling you a discounted ticket that's like 50% off, or it's scam.
Not legit.
Right.
Nope, not legit at all. And people get taken in every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
how they're out there on I-4, I have no idea.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. So do you guys have any other thoughts on the time frame? And let's actually talk about the time frame of when you start to book your trip. And I think, unless you have other thoughts, you have to start with the resort. So let's say
start with a resort, definitely.
Right, you pick your resort.
Here's the funny thing. We got done with our trip in June. And when we got done with our trip, we were on the flight home, sitting there talking to each other. And we're like, okay, where do we want to stay next year? We've already started. And it's like, oh, everyone's like, you got to let us settle in. You got to. No, you know what? We talk about, let's unwind. Okay, what did we like? What didn't we like? What felt good? What did we wish went different? Okay, where do we want to stay next year? So,
yeah, that's a good way to start too. So let's just go into the assumption that it's a year out. You pick your resort. Now, you want to have a few sit-down meals. So you have to make advanced dining reservations. But you have to wait. What is it, 60 days out now?
I believe it's 60 days out.
All right, so you're now 12 months out, but you have to wait till you're 2 months out. In that time frame, use it to your advantage by looking at, and there's so many restaurants on property. Plan out the days you plan to be in which park. Look at calendars. When I say calendars, crowd calendars. There are plenty out there. All you have to do is Google Disney World Park crowd calendars. A lot will pop up. Figure out, and the time of year you come makes a big difference too. So see where you want to go on that particular day. You can always change your mind, but then do you want to stay in the parks for your dining reservations? Do you want to go out of the parks? Do you want to go off property? If you're going off property, you're obviously not going to have a dining reservation.
Look at the food menu and make sure everyone's going to like the food.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, absolutely.
So 50's Primetime Cafe. Make sure there's something on there that it's just the first one that came up for me.
Yep.
Make sure there's something on there that everyone's going to want. Everybody look at the menu. What we would do is, if we're going with a party of 5 or 6, my wife and I would go through and we look at it. And then I'd contact my son and say, here's some restaurants we're thinking about going to. Look at the menus. He and his girlfriend would literally sit there on the couch while they're watching whatever at night and flip through and look at the dining options of what's going on. And his girlfriend's never been there. But she likes looking. Oh, that looks good. Oh, well, you would like this. Oh, try this.
You know what? I think it's a given that when you're booking dining reservations 2 months out, it's very difficult because what you're in the mood for that day, you may not be in the mood for the day of. But make sure it's a restaurant that you really want to try, and that there are, like you said, Kurt, items that you will like and eat. I know. Don't do what we did with our kids, even though it did work. We didn't make dining reservations in a sit-down restaurant until they were paying as adults at Walt Disney World. And then, they were going to eat off the adult menu. We told them they could not eat off the children's menu. They had to get something from the adult menu. And it worked out because thank God our kids like to try different things. They have their likes and dislikes, and they did back then, but they would try different things to see if they liked it. And it just worked out terrifically for us. That doesn't mean it'll work for you. If you have picky eaters, God help you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why you really have to look at the menus and see what's available on the menu.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so start researching that. Also, when you know what parks you're going to be in that day or believe to be in that day, start thinking about, do you need multi-lane passes for that park? Do you want a single lane or single lightning lane for any attraction in that park? Budget yourself for it. Look at how much Disney's charging. It does change depending on when you go. So what I would do is take the highest possible amount that they're charging and figure that into your budget. If you choose to get, let's say, a single lightning lane. Let's say
make sure everyone is going to be going too.
Right.
So, because you can't just get those back. I mean, I knew someone that caught COVID while they were down there. Is he going to eat that $27 for that lightning lane now?
Right.
That's painful. That's a meal right there.
Yeah.
Back to food. You really gotta. It's very painful if you're going with a party of 4 to book individual lightning lanes. So, and that's why when she was talking about Tron, okay, you guys said virtual queue would be gone by 7/2, and it's gone now for that one. It's still available with others though, but that's going to be interesting. How that's going to work out now, because it's not available for early entry, but there's going to be people going over there, and they're going to stand in that line and wait for that half hour.
Oh, absolutely. That's the first thing they're going to do. If there's someone who's never been on there and they've been dying to go in there, that's what their trip is all about.
Mm-hmm.
For that park, their one main goal is get on that attraction. You're right. They're going to get in early and they're going to stand in line and wait.
I think the longest line we ever waited in was 2 hours for Splash Mountain.
Wow. I forgot what I was going to say. I remember what I was going to say. this has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, but and this is just a hunch on my part. I'm not spreading a rumor. I don't know anything. It's my hunch. My hunch is telling me that Guardians of the Galaxy will be gone from the virtual queue before.
It already is.
No, it's not.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
gone.
I'm thinking of Rise of the Resistance. I'm
Oh.
sorry.
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians
I
of
don't
the
know if
Galaxy.
that will go.
I believe it will be gone somewhere before and around Easter of next year. Maybe it might be just past Easter. It might be before. It's just a hunch. I have nothing to go on. No one's told me anything. Just my hunch.
Well, again, the only reason why, and that was the one that I thought wouldn't go away, because it does keep things flowing so well for that one. And it's available multiple times during the day. Versus Tron wasn't, it was filling up, boom, and you had to wait so long. For whatever reason, it feels like Guardians of the Galaxy just loads faster than any of these other attractions, and I don't know why. But it really does. Maybe it's because it's just the layout and the number of people that are riding on it. So Light Cycle has what, 10 versus 20 on Guardians. It's just it flows. Now that being said, I just looked up the price of the single pass for Tron Light Cycle is $20.
Yeah.
For Guardians is $14.
But I think it would be good for people to budget themselves at that $20 mark if that's the high end of the single Lightning lanes, just so they're prepared money-wise when the time comes to purchase the Lightning Lane.
Did you know there's no I thought there was a Lightning Lane. I guess it was a temporary Lightning Lane for Tiana's Adventure.
Not sure of that.
There's no individual Lightning Lane for that.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I was
did
just
not
there
know
and I didn't know that. Speaking of which,
it's
last
on the
week-
regular multi-pass.
I went to Magic Kingdom last week, and the park, compared to how I've seen it in recent months, was pretty empty. And I'm not saying it was empty. It
Everyone's
wasn't
back in
empty.
school.
It's just, yeah. A lot of people from overseas were there, and and the only kids that were there from overseas, I didn't really see. Some school-age kids, a lot of young children, but still for Magic Kingdom, it was. I wouldn't say sparse, but it was empty. It was things were moving. Line waits were not that terrible.
Good.
It was pretty good. We were there for a couple hours maybe, and got a lot done.
My friends' children are coming down with the grandkids today, and they'll probably maybe hit one of the parks.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Look at the events that are going to take place when you plan on coming down here. All right, let's say you have school children, and the best months you can go are parts of June, all of July, and part of August, or maybe even all of August, depending where you're living. Look at what kind of events might be taking place that time of year, or what has already been announced, what they've done in the past. Go back a few years and see, have they had any events during those times that you think they might repeat? We know Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party starts earlier and earlier every year. So guess what?
First week in August.
Yeah. So Magic Kingdom closes early. So
which makes a difference on which park you're going to on which day.
Right.
When you are planning your parks to which you're going to each day. Now, again, if you're staying on site and you're buying just a 5-day pass going for 5 days, you do not need a theme park reservation anymore. If you're an annual pass holder, you do. So that all being said, if normally we'd go to the Magic Kingdom on Monday, you better double check and make sure there's no Booty You party going on.
Here's a tip for anybody who's coming
or Not So Scary
when the parks are closing early that night. Go to that park that day, as long as you're okay not staying to see the fireworks at the end of the day, let's say with Magic Kingdom, because most people will not go to the park on a day it's closing early.
I just talked about that. Yeah. Now, if you're someone like Stuart or someone with an annual pass, I guess that being said, go early on that day to that park, and then park hop to another park.
Yep.
So maybe if you don't care about seeing the fireworks on that night, because you're not going to,
and you can park hop back to that park another night.
You can park hop back to that another night if you've got park hopper passes or something. So that's up to you.
And that's another expense you have to look at. How much are park hopper tickets now? They used to be relatively inexpensive.
Like
Now,
$75 or $80, I
yeah.
think, the park hop.
Now, just out of curiosity, because I don't remember. Do you guys hear
Spit it
that?
out. No.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I'll tell you guys later. There was a lot of noise here a minute ago. Can you purchase park hoppers for just 1 or 2 days of your trip, or do you have to purchase it for every day of your trip?
You could do, I think it's after 2 days. I think it's too expensive to do 1 day. I don't think, when my son-in-law tried doing it once for just 1 day, they wouldn't allow it. He had to
No,
have a 2-day ticket.
Right, and you can't do it for just 1 day of those tickets. If you're buying a park hopper, it's for the time. So we stayed 5 days last time. His 5-day ticket was a park hopper ticket. So normally we don't park hop, because normally when we're traveling, honestly, we had to work when we were there in June. We had to work and force ourselves to go to another park just to use the park hopper ticket that we normally wouldn't use. So, to each their own, though. There are some people, again, if you're going on the time, like Stuart was just saying, you got the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. The Boo-to-You is the parade. But the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party's going on. Maybe it's Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party going on. Any of these other parties that they're having going on those days, those parks close early. Then if you want to do something other than just stay at your resort, you have to go.
Mhm.
You have to go to another park, or else
Right.
you got to pay for that park, the extra ticket, because
Yeah.
you cannot stay in the park. They won't even let you. The last time we were down there, something was going on one of the night. It was extended night, and there was some party, some bash was going on over at the castle. I could not even get past. I can't even get to the statue, the
Mhm.
partner statue, to take a photo. They're like, "We're sorry, without the band, we're closed for the night. You're welcome to stay on Main Street and buy all you want, but you can't go past Main Street. They completely blocked it off."
Right.
Now, some people will do that. What they do is they spend the day, maybe instead of buying a 5-day ticket, they buy a 4-day ticket, spend the daytime over at Kennedy Space Center. And they decide, hey, that night we're going to go to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So they pay the $150 a person, whatever it is. And they go to all the attractions that night.
Yep.
Right.
A lot of people do that. Or some people will stay at the resort for a day. They'll take a park break and stay at their resort for the day. They'll go to the pool, or they'll, like you said, they'll go off property and go elsewhere. I'd like to know next year how many people are going to come to Disney World, let's say for 4 or 5 days, and out of those 4 or 5 days, they take a day to go to Epic Universe. I think you can see a lot of that happen next year.
Yeah. I know my family's coming down, the whole family, on my mom's side next December.
I will not be.
Yeah,
I will not be going to Epic Universe.
I wouldn't mind seeing what it's all about, but I don't plan on going anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Well, and you guys had the benefit you're down there, so you'll get the local news talking about it constantly. And you'll get both sides of the pros and the cons, as opposed to me, who everything that I would be reading about it would come off of specific social media somewhere. And then you gotta take it like a grain of thought. It's kind of like politics. You're one side or the other. And I'm not getting into politics any more than saying you're Disney or Universal. And you're trying to be somewhere as an independent in the middle and liking both. But then you have some that are strong Universal far rights, or far right on, however you want to look at the rights versus the left. I don't care. I don't want to Make it sound like I'm making a. You're going to have far one side for Universal, far another side for Disney.
Yeah.
There's some that just won't be down the middle and enjoy both, and you got to really be careful where you're getting the information from it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. If you're coming down here specifically for Disney, is it curiosity? Like in my case, mine is curiosity to want to see Epic Universe. Not that if it's anything like the other parks, I know I'm not going to enjoy the attractions because it's just like rattle your brains around a lot and make me nauseous. To me, that's what Universal is. But there are a lot of thrill seekers out there that enjoy going to Universal for that reason. But they're not the same type of people for the most part. I know there are some, and there is a crossover. People that come to Disney are generally looking for that family entertainment rather than the thrill seeker. And I know it's a generalization, so don't, I know it's not everybody, but like Lottie's husband, Kyle, big Mario Brothers fans. He can't wait to go see Epic Universe.
Right. And then it opened out in California already. He was like quite upset because she got to see that before he did. Because she had a day off and actually went to it when she was on a business trip. So
I'll tell you, that's what they were arguing about, and they've got a great marriage.
Yeah, there you go. So it's when it's too early. It's never too early. Just don't be surprised if you do start planning early. Take notes so you can go back and just do a double check. Do a double check and make sure it's still there. Again, that snickerdoodle cookie was fantastic. It was like mouth-watering. We were drooling walking up saying, I'd like my snickerdoodle caramel cookie, please. It was delicious. So when she found it wasn't going to be there, she's like, okay, I'll give it a try. She goes, it's not the same.
Now, how would you rank that cookie compared to the carrot cake cookie? I think it's up there. It's not quite there.
I thought it was. Now, the last time I had the carrot cake cookie, I was slightly disappointed in it. I got to be honest. When they started putting it over at Starbucks, I did not try the version out in Germany because I heard Germany had the carrot cake cookie over the summer. I went with the snickerdoodle just because I honestly forgot they had it. So again, you got to write the note. And what ended up happening is that snickerdoodle cookie, the difference is the huge gob of caramel that they put in the center. And then the frosting's on the outside of it. So the carrot cake cookie, again, it's a little bit different frosting in the middle. Still a darn good cookie. That's what I would have gone for. I would have gone for if I couldn't get the snickerdoodle, I would have asked for the carrot cake cookie. Either one of them, it's a two serving cookie. You can't eat it all in one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can. And that's part of my problem. I can eat that.
Yeah, but we're on seafood diets. We got to close our eyes, cannot see it. Because if we see it, we're going to eat it.
True.
So.
Yeah, and I think, Kurt, you're right. I think we're going to wrap it up here. It's never too early, but it can be too late. So if you really want to plan out the right kind of vacation for you, whether it's your family, a loved one, a friend, or friends, you got to start. Don't go beyond a year out. Just don't do it. It can be done, but just
don't go earlier than a year out, is what you're saying.
Right. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't go earlier than a year.
Right. Now, again, Disney Vacation Club, most of the resorts I'm staying at, 7 months out. So we've got that. We know what we want to do. So that morning, book it. So what you can do with any resort you want to stay at. I'm looking at the resorts. If I booked it at 165 and now it's 141, I can go back and I can change it. They'll let you change that. So obviously the prices came down because they're not full.
Yeah.
So, and as right now, there are no pass holder discounts past December 31st.
Wow.
So
interesting.
They might stop at Christmas, to be honest with you. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by it.
Yeah. Oh, and also for those, we mentioned this, I think it was last week. Don't discount DVC resorts if you're looking to come down here. If you see something you like, you can always rent the points and see, weigh the cost from one to the other. Staying at a regular resort, off property resort, or Yeah, oh, and that's another thing too. If you're staying off property, you've got to account for and we've mentioned this before too, your time getting from where you are to the park, where if you're on property, yes, transportation, if you're using Disney transportation, will take you a while, but it's a heck of a lot less than if you were coming from outside the parks or outside Disney World property, and then paying the $25 too on top of that, which Kurt had mentioned.
Interesting fact.
Mhm.
You can book a deluxe studio at Kidani Village, which is an Animal Kingdom village. If you're driving, you'll be parked underneath of there, so it makes for a lot drier getting out on those rainy days. The deluxe studio, which has a kitchenette in it, $466.67. That's less expensive than staying at the Wilderness Lodge right now.
Or how many days?
That's per day. It's got a queen size bed and a double size sleeper sofa, and a view of the pool or the parking area.
Mm-hmm.
But it's Kidani Village. That's the DVC resort.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they have to weigh their options and see, how much they want to spend, as opposed to they being, anybody planning a trip, as opposed to staying in a regular Disney resort, let's say in this case, whether it be a moderate or deluxe.
Yeah. Saratoga Springs for $444, and where was it? Old Key West for $443.
But you know what? You're talking deluxe resort prices almost. If somebody wants to stay at a moderate resort, it's a big difference.
I'm talking about DVC resorts, though.
Oh no, I get that. But if somebody's comparing a moderate resort price to a DVC resort, they're only booking one room.
Right, but if I'm staying in the Wilderness Lodge, which is, I'd love to stay in the Wilderness Lodge right now. The Wilderness Lodge is $499 versus.
Okay, there you go. It's
the villas. It's a villa, which means it's actually got like a kitchenette.
More room. Yeah, you've got.
So when it's got the kitchenette in there, it might be the same size room, but again, it has that kitchenette in there. With the kitchenette in there, you can. It's got a microwave built in. It's got the little mini fridge, and well, they all have a fridge, but.
Right. So if you wanted to bring your own food,
extra little, yeah.
You have to weigh your options. That's as simple as that.
Weigh it. Give it a shot. Don't be afraid.
Yep, I agree. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. Darlene, thank you for hanging in there. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, thank you.
Kurt, as always, thanks for being here. Next week, hopefully, we'll have John back, and hopefully soon we'll see Lottie here. We're hoping. We're trying to work.
She's traveling so much.
Yeah, I know she is. She's working hard and traveling even harder. All right. So until next time, everybody, be yourself. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Always remember, it's not a bad idea to have a notepad for your vacation planning. So have that, your sunscreen, and lots of water with you when you come to Disney World. Have a magical night.